Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Lottie and Albert podcast. My name is Lindsey. I'm a crochet designer and craft editor from the Cotswolds in the UK. This is my podcast all about crochet. I'm going to be talking about what I've been working on. I've got a really exciting charity CAL that I would like to announce here on the podcast. And I'm going to be talking about whips and any finished objects and new things as well. So a massive warm hello if you're watching for the first time. I hope you enjoy spending time with me here. And if you do, please feel free to hit the like or the subscribe button at the end. It's not compulsory, but it really helps get the podcast out there and share the crochet love. And of course, a really big warm welcome to anybody who is a returning viewer. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here again. Episode 14. I guess that means I've been doing this for about 6 months now because I film every 2 weeks in theory. The last couple of months have been just busy, I guess, and I had my big holiday, so I'm back now. It's been 2 weeks since the last one. We're on track, guys. We're all here. And yeah, I've got a really exciting project that I want to talk to you about, which I might kick off with, to be honest, and just talk about right at the start. It's a really great day here today. Hopefully it's not looking too grey on camera. It's quite a light room, but I do film on my iPhone, so apologies if it is a bit grey and moody. I am wearing a really beautiful vintage crochet shawl that my mum just randomly brought around for me one day last year. My mum, like me, possibly worse. Hoarder is a strong word. She's a collector of things and she loves crafts, as I do, so she has a lot of craft supplies. She ran a patchwork and quilting shop for many years. She brought this round. She's not even sure where it came from. It was possibly made by a family member. Equally, she might have just picked it up. She reckoned that her gran might have made it, which if she did, that's pretty amazing. But it's just the most beautiful peachy colour. It's like a shawl. It is a big triangular shawl with amazing fringing, and yeah, this amazing peachy colour and this really pretty shell design. I feel like if anybody is looking at new projects, I don't have a pattern for this, but this is a really nice example of achieving a kind of open lace weight look with DK yarn. I'm pretty sure it's DK. It's quite chunky, but it's got such nice drape. And it feels nice and loose, see? You don't have to use 4-ply or really thin yarn to work up into a nice open shawl. And yeah, this fringing's really fun too because it's actually all the final layer. It's not added afterwards. It's like worked in and it's looped at the bottom. There you are. A little bit of design inspo if anybody's out there looking for a new design. So that's what I'm wearing. Am I rambling already? I'm really nervous and excited about this crochet along CAL, and so yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit frenzied. Shall we start talking about it? Now, I have a friend in real life by the name of Jen, and you may also know her if you frequent the crochet Instagram community. On Instagram, she is just little Jen, and Jen and I went to Yarndale a few months ago together. We were friends in real life before we sort of shared our passion for crafts and crochet on Instagram and online together. And Jen and I have a mutual friend in common who we met through sort of a baby group, antenatal group, when we all had our first children around the same time. And our friend's little girl, Grace, she's only 3 years old and she's recently undergone her 3rd open heart surgery. She was born with the condition, which essentially means she has half a working heart. And in her first year, she had 2 open heart surgeries, and now in her 3rd year, she has had another one. And I mean, to look at her, she is the most beautiful, intelligent, outgoing little girl. You almost wouldn't know that she had, you know, such difficulties with her heart, but she does. That's the reality of her situation. But her parents have approached this in what I think is the most amazing way, and ever since she's been born, not only, you know, have they had their own battles and their own, you know, very serious situation that they've been dealing with, but they have tirelessly raised money for charities, and in particular to the charities that have helped Grace, which are Little Hearts Matter, which is a charity that raises awareness and helps support parents and families whose children have been born with heart, and Bristol Children's Hospital, which is where she has received almost all of her major treatments. So Jen and I decided that we wanted to try and help, and obviously the most obvious way for us to try and help is crochet. So we have put together what we're calling a charity cal, and I have brought together a group of 7 amazing crochet designers who I have met through the online community. Some of them are in America, some of them are in Australia and further afield, and they have all very kindly given their time to design a free square. Okay, so what we have is 7 Afghan squares which we're going to launch for free, and what we are going to ask is that if you feel that you have the time to make 1 or more of these free designs and then send us a square, we are hoping that we can get enough squares to make a blanket. Now in the UK the laws governing raffles are really tight. We can't raffle the blanket online, but what we would like to do is raffle the blanket locally with the permission of the charity. So as far as you guys are concerned, if you'd like to get involved and help, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do that right now. On my blog today, which is Saturday the 2nd of December, I'm going to be launching all 7 patterns from these superstar designers. So go on and have a look. If any of them take your fancy, they are all worked in DK weight yarn, and they should all work up to around 6 inches or 15 centimeters square. I have made a couple of them to show you, and I can also, I'm also going to pop up all the pictures here, right? So the designers that have really kindly given their time are, and again, this is Instagram names, so we all know how terrible I am at pronouncing people's Instagram names, but Kai Dallas, Jellybean Junction, Make, Crafty CC, Annaboo's House, Happy Berry Crochet, and Noble Character Crafts. So hopefully you recognise a few of those names. Some of them are really exciting designers and friends of mine online. Yes, so I'll show you some of the squares. So this is the square, and in true Lindsey style, obviously all the ends are not sewn in. This is the square from Annaboo's House. This is the square from Emily of Make. And this one is Kai Dallas's square. It's a little bit harder to see in the colours I've worked it in. So as you can see, we've got a range of different designs. This one from Sarah Shrimpton of Annaboo's House has got really pretty little heart motifs. This one from Emily of Make is a corner to corner number, and I've used sparkly yarn in the middle. And this one from Kai Dallas is a bubble heart pattern worked in different colours. So not only are you helping charity if you would like to make one, but hey, you might get to try out a few techniques you've never done before. As I said, these are just 3 of the 7 different designs. The only stipulation, you can work them in acrylic or you can work them in cotton, but as long as it's washable. It just has to be washable, machine washable. I've worked mine in acrylic, and I have worked mine in purple because purple is Grace's favourite colour. So I've said on my blog post, if you can work them in purple, that would be amazing. If you haven't got purples, then pastel colours would be lovely too. So purples and pastels, DK weight yarn. It can be acrylic or cotton as long as it's washable, and we are hoping to get enough squares sent to us that we can make a blanket to then raffle to raise money for the charity. I have also included details of JustGiving page that I have set up. If you feel that you would like to donate £1 or $1 or I don't know, whatever your currency is, just a small amount as a sort of thank you to the designers for their time, then that money will go straight to the charity from the JustGiving page. Ideally, in an ideal world, what I would have liked to have done is raffle it online, because if you can charge, 500 people £1 for a raffle ticket online, that's already a huge amount of money. But as I said, the laws in the UK are really tight on raffles, so we're gonna have to do it locally and try and sell tickets locally. But if we have more squares than we need for one blanket, we would also really like to give one blanket to Grace, and if we get enough squares for more than 2 blankets, what we would like to do is donate some of the blankets to the Ronald McDonald House that is local to Bristol Children's Hospital. So what that essentially means is that's the accommodation that the charity provides to allow parents and family members to stay close to their poorly children and their poorly loved ones whilst they are in hospitals. Obviously, hospitals, I don't know how it works where you are, but hospitals in the UK do not simply have the facilities to put up parents long term if your children are in hospital long term. So hopefully that's clear. Go and visit my blog post after this and have a look. What I essentially want you to do is, what have I done here? Make a square, send it to us. If you feel that you want to donate £1 or $1 or something as well, amazing. If not, fine, just sending us the square will be really helpful and help us work towards our goal of making a blanket to raffle. And then fourthly, we would love it if you could help us spread the word. So we have set up an Instagram page, which is at Little Hearts for Grace. There's not much on that today because today is the first day and this is the main announcement for the Cal. And we would also really, really like it if you could use the hashtag Little Hearts for Grace. So yes, heart themed, purple yarn, charity Cal. There are 7 designs available. If you would like to make one and send it to us, then that would be so amazing. Our local yarn store in Stitches have very kindly agreed to be the postal address for all the packages. So if you do have time to make a square with some scrap yarn and send it to us, if you could mark your envelope with a heart so that we know what's inside and so the yarn store can distinguish the square packages from their normal deliveries and stuff, that would be perfect. Yeah, so if you would like to find the links to my blog post, to the Instagram page and to the JustGiving page, then if you click in the drop down menu below in the description box, then I will put all the links in there. So that yeah, that's my big Cal announcement. Hopefully we can all start making them together, see what colours people are making them in. Please make a square and send it to me. I've spent so long working on this, and obviously the designers have given their time, which has been so generous. I will put in here some of the other pictures that the designers have made, if I haven't already. Oh, so sorry, this is so rambling. I wanted to do this well, and I feel like I have not delivered this in the best way, but there we are. That's the idea. It's a charity cowl, Little Hearts for Grace, all to raise money for the charities that have helped our friend's little girl, Grace. Thank you all for listening. Normal service, podcast-wise, will now resume, although obviously this week, this has been all-consuming. The designers very kindly turned their designs around for me in 2 weeks. And then this week, I've been essentially just trying to get everything into a downloadable format, write the blog post. I really wanted to have made all 7 squares by today, but I also work 4 days a week and have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and need to sleep. So keep an eye on the Little Hearts for Grace Instagram page, and I will start posting all the examples of the squares that I have made, and I know that Jen has started making a couple as well. So there we go. I don't really have any finished objects this week. Can this count as my finished object? Don't worry about that. That was just my iPad smashing onto the floor. This is my finished object for this week, for this episode. A charity cowl. That's a big finished object, right? I also have a ton of whips. Now, the reason for this is twofold. My excuse is twofold. This month, for the first time in ages, I haven't had a commission for Hobbycraft or a magazine or anything on. And I also had finished a couple of projects. So I finished my Frank and Olive box jumper, which I was wearing last episode, and I finished my rainbow socks. And so I was like, I'm free, I can start Christmas projects, I can make mittens for my children. And I went a bit crazy. The second reason, there are 2, remember? The second reason I have so many whips, this is the good reason. After 2 weeks ago, when I filmed the last episode, I was getting a bit of a mess when I film because stuff gets brought down into this room so I can show you, and sometimes it doesn't always find its way back up into our spare room, which is what I sort of use as my craft room. I also obviously work on whips in the evening, so I have different kind of projects stashed in the living room. I sometimes take one into work in my bag. I felt like I had yarn squirreled away everywhere. I'd bought a lot of yarn when I went to Japan, which I showed the haul last time. And I also still had all my Yarndale haul just sort of stuffed in bags and not really absorbed properly into my stash. So I had a big sort out. I pulled out all my projects and all my yarn from everywhere around the house, went and put it all on the spare bed, got all my Yarndale yarn out, got all my Japan yarn haul out, and I also had like my latest stuff from Hobbycraft, from Knitcraft. I'm a yarn ambassador for them, so they sometimes send me yarn to review. I had a big stash of yarn from the last time I'd done that, and I put it all on the spare bed. And then I had a small heart attack. I realise it's a really good problem to have, but oh my goodness, I felt really stressed. I was like, what's wrong with me? I've got too much stuff. And it's not been long since I did a big giveaway and gave away like something ridiculous, like 3 kilograms of yarn in autumn colours. I'm always doing giveaways. Actually, I hit 9k on my Instagram account last week, so I did a pattern giveaway. Maybe I should have done a yarn giveaway and given away yarn. But anyway, I tried to calm down. I sorted it all out, which was quite cathartic and enjoyable because obviously you get to look at all your beautiful purchases and yarn again. And I said, okay, I'm going to assign some of this yarn to projects, and I'm going to start making projects, and I'm going to do stash buster projects. So obviously one of the projects that I decided to do was another Lottie and Albert rainbow blanket. If it's your first time watching, I don't have many patterns released, but one of my patterns is what I call the Lottie and Albert rainbow blanket, and it is a big, I've just dropped the ball, it's a big stash buster project in that it uses 6 strands of DK yarn held together and a 20mm hook, and it works up into a super chunky squishy blanket. So I decided to do one in a little bit of a different colour palette, and I went for neutrals. I know, what's happened? Neutrals. And this is it so far. It's not very big at the moment. Can you see? In fact, it's maybe worked out slightly smaller than they normally do. It's not looking so bad now I'm looking at it. This is the width and this is the length. So it's quite square at the moment. However, I only have this much left on my ball, which doesn't feel like very much. But I think that's partly because I've used different yarns and I've used different weight yarns, so I'll try and show you, but I mean apologies because I don't have a fancy zoom. I have in here a sort of Aran weight cream, this which is DK, possibly even 4-ply, which is like a kind of taupey mushroom colour. What else do we have in here? A DK, just kind of off-white neutral. And then this sparkly number. You see, it's DK. It's actually, I think it's, yeah, one of those kind of Christmassy ones. It's a DK with a little bit of sparkle run through it. And, oh, I think the one that I said was like a cream Aran is actually a tweedy yarn. You can see better here. It's got like flecks of colour. And then finally this eyelash yarn, which is what has given it its amazingly furry texture. So I've only got one strand of eyelash yarn in there, and yet look what it's done. It's had quite an impact. So this is my neutral Lottie and Albert rainbow blanket. I was thinking of making it for a friend and gifting it to her for her house. She mentioned on one of my posts a while back that she really liked chunky blankets, but it's just whether or not this is going to be big enough. It's probably not, so I don't know if I'll be able to do all of the pom-poms like I normally do, or maybe I'll just have to make all the pom-poms out of one solid colour. That might work. Or I might try, I have got, so there are 6 different yarns here. I don't have more of the same of 2 of them, but 4 of them I could join on and add more, and then the other 2 I could maybe just try and find similar ones and hope that I didn't get too much of a kind of colour block and that it blended. I don't know, it's hard to say, but essentially this is supposed to be a stash buster, so I've used up at least 6 balls of yarn. Hooray! And yeah, I actually really like the neutral palette. I always talk about colour. I feel like I go on about it all the time because I'm so drawn to like bright colours and jazzy colours, but then actually I think that things like this are what look really beautiful in your home, and I tend to wear more neutral colours or kind of blues and greys. Like this for me is quite a colour addition, so it's finding that balance, isn't it? But I think this is a really nice kind of homewares piece, so hopefully my friend will like it when I finally finish it and gift it to her. It wasn't necessarily going to be a Christmas present, so there's not so much time pressure, but when I show you how many other whips I've got, you will understand. Also, in a bid to use up yarn, I decided, sorry, I've got a little alert on my phone, that I would start making an animal from the crochet book that I showed you a few episodes ago, which I was in love with, which is Friends of Pig Poo by Jan Schenkel. Jan Schenkel. the most adorable projects. I did a little review of this book. I wasn't sent it or anything, I just bought it myself because I loved it. And now I had in my stash some really chunky yarn, which I had bought when I thought I was going to make my daughter as kind of mini version of my Frank and Olive box jumper. It never happened, and I thought I'm going to make an amigurumi animal out of this super chunky yarn because it will be really big and fun. And I think the beauty of crochet, most crochet patterns, if it's not a garment, and for instance amigurumi, you can make it in any weight yarn. Most amigurumi is worked in DK or thinner, and obviously these animals worked in DK are going to end up around about this size. But I quite like to play with scale. I've made some really big tuft animals before using super chunky yarn. So I had sort of 3 balls of this yellow colour that I bought for the jumper, and I also in my stash found some grey and some pink, all the same yarn company, all the same weight. So I thought that'll be another good stash buster. I will start making an animal using those, and I decided to start making the dragon because he's adorable. I'll show you a picture of him. This is the dragon, and like in her photo you can see here she's got a little kind of pencil case, so that gives you an idea of how big he is. Okay, are you ready to see what I'm about to show you? This is his head, okay? Brace yourselves. This is the dragon's head, worked in super chunky yarn. This is his head. This is just his head. So, he's gonna be huge. He's gonna be so big. I've got my hand inside the bag. Obviously it's not stuffed or anything yet. These are like his little nose bits. Can you see here? So he's gonna be, oh my gosh, I don't know, like maybe this big. But I'm making this one for my little boy for Christmas, and then I'm gonna make, or have started making the unicorn for my little gal. So I have an image of them sort of in front of the fireplace with bows on when they come down on Christmas morning. Huge, just massive. And his head pretty much used 1 ball. So my stash busting is sort of working, but I'm probably going to have to buy more of these. They're only £1 a ball. It's the Mariner Super Chunky, which a store in my local town sells quite a lot of Mariner. It's really cheap. It's not the softest. You maybe wouldn't want it for... it's not too bad actually. It's not scratchy. It's just probably doesn't have very good drape, so you probably wouldn't want to wear it in a garment, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, this is the head. I think it's calls for a 10mm hook when you're making normal things. So I've used a 7mm hook, possibly an 8. I forgot in my bag. This is the project bag I'm using because it needs to be big, right? This is my hello bag. I am using an 8mm hook. I'm using an 8mm hook. So essentially with amigurumi you want to work on a smaller hook so that you can get this nice dense fabric. This isn't stuffed yet, but as you can see it's pretty much holding its shape, which is kind of what you want. You don't want a floppy dragon. This is the wool, the yarn, 100% acrylic, super chunky Mariner. This stuff is like £1 a ball. So if you do want to make yourself a giant amigurumi, then it's a pretty cheap way to do it. Or like me, to use up some of the millions of balls of yarn you have in your stash. So that's going well. The only other thing is that, and I don't think I have him down here, obviously I said I then wanted to make the unicorn for my daughter. I'll see if I can find the picture while I'm talking. But I have 2 children. They're quite close in age. There's less than 2 years between them. They like to have everything the same, okay? So if I've made my son a dragon and it's in super chunky and it's giant, I can't make my daughter one in DK, can I? Because that just looks terrible by comparison. Oh look, here's a little postcard with the dragon on. So I've had to make hers giant too. And I've started making the unicorn's nose. Oh, it's ridiculous, it's huge. I didn't have any super chunky in white. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the unicorn and I can't find him. I didn't have any super chunky in white. So what I did was I'm holding several yarns together in the same way. Oh, here he is. He's like on the very next page. In the same way as, for instance, like my Lottie Albert rainbow blanket, I'm holding like 3 different yarns together to try and get up to the sort of the same weight so that he comes out a similar size to the dragon. So I'm going to have 2 giant amigurumi toys come Christmas Day. I've also started this week some mittens. Now these look huge, but I promise you they do fit my 3-year-old, because I followed a guide for sizes online. I was like, that seems ridiculous. 12 centimetres for a 3-year-old's hand, from the bottom of their hand to their fingers, that's huge. So I got my daughter to put her hand flat on the tape measure. Sure enough, 11.5 centimetres. So that was a pretty good guide. Here's one. These probably would have been finished if it hadn't been for my charity Cal, because they're really quick make, and I wanted these to match the Farah hat. She's actually wearing it today, otherwise I would have shown you them together. So I've got one here and half of another one here, because I ran out of this white wool as I was working on it, and I need to go and stash dive upstairs and find some more white yarn. And then, because I'm super lazy, my husband and I got into watching the second series of Stranger Things, and I essentially couldn't leave the room. So rather than going upstairs and getting a ball of white wool, I started making another mitten for my son. Oh, I've actually done more than I thought. So here you are, here's his little size. He hasn't got his thumb on yet. Though actually I wonder if he really needs a thumb. He's only 2. Do you need a thumb when you're 2? Not even 2 yet, it's 2 in January. So yeah, you can't see the contrast yarn on his as well. It hasn't worked quite as well gradient wise, but they're a really fun little cute pattern. If anybody's interested, I might be able to write those up in all my spare time. But yeah, we had a really cold weekend last weekend, and I suddenly realised, I mean, we did pull some gloves up from last year, but they were a bit small. I felt so guilty. I was like, I'm a self-proclaimed crochet designer, and my children don't even have mittens that fit. And obviously that guilt was really strong because they're not finished yet. The project bag that the mittens are in is this really cute little cactus bag. I don't know who made it, but it came from my fibre share partner this year. Isn't it cute? That's not it, folks. Not content with starting 1, 2, 3, 4 different projects last week, one evening I decided to start another one. Honestly, sometimes I think I have some kind of like, well, no, I'm not going to say that, but I do go into a little bit of a tears and just start making. If anybody has watched before, you may remember when I won a giveaway with the young company Woolly Mahusive, and I won £100 to spend on any of their yarns. One of the yarns I bought was this really gorgeous mustard. It's called Borgo de Pazzi. And I was being a bit precious about this yarn because I love it so much. It smells really good, looks really good, the colour is gorgeous, and I wanted to make something out of it. Was umming and ahhing. I decided I was going to make a cushion for my living room, and then, because, you know, why not, I then decided I was going to knit it. So here's what I've got so far. It's supposed to be the stitch that I love in knitting, which is the my god, I can't even think, the herringbone stitch, okay? But I am a really, really, really beginner knitter. Like, I don't even know how to increase or decrease. And so I feel that this could probably look better if my tension was better. But I'm quite happy with it. I'm hoping, it's like almost falling off the end here. These are 20mm knitting needles. This is quite a dense stitch, as I understand it. My knitting knowledge is limited. This is the other side. It's quite a dense stitch. So all the stuff I read online said to kind of go up a few sizes, and this is quite a bulky wool. So my mum had these knitting needles. They looked like really dangerous. My son pulled one out the other day. I think he thought it was a sword or something. I was like, put it away! Not for playing with. Good bugger deterrent. No, these are scary, right? Anyway, they're doing an okay job. I think I'm going to keep going, and I think I'll be okay and get myself a cushion panel. Even if the stitch isn't exactly right, then it still looks quite nice, right? There's a nice bit of texture there. And mustard, we all love mustard. Thank you so much to all the knitters who commented on my episode last time and told me that I can make a hat with the random knitting needles I bought in a fit of impulse buying in Japan. If I use the magic loop method, I essentially bought a pair of circular needles, but didn't really pay any attention to how long the I always forget what it's called. Not loop. How long the cable holding the two needles together was. I was like, I'm going to make a hat. And then got home and looked at it and was like, this is a lot wider than a hat is supposed to be. But thank you so much to everybody who commented. Magic loop method. And some of you gave some really good recommendations for sort of beginner knitter places to start on. Brandishing this. Places to start on the internet as well. So I will definitely be checking those out because, yeah. There are a few of my friends on Instagram who've gotten into knitting lately and just can't seem to stop knitting. And I almost worry that that would be what would happen to me. I feel like I would be cheating on crochet in some way if I start knitting because I feel like I might not stop. But, you know, I know there are loads of people who do both, okay? Every time I start, that chunky project's not actually too bad because it's worked up quickly, but I feel so unfamiliar with holding two needles that when I try and knit, it's so slow. I basically have no patience and I just give up and go back to crochet because I have no patience. Anyway, so yeah, that's quite a few whips that I've started. It's not even all of them. I started something else which is like a jumper design I'm really excited about, but I'm going to be a secret Peter about that and not show you. The cushion cover, the blanket, the two amigurumi animals, some mittens. I've also got a pair of fingerless gloves on the go for my mother-in-law, and I could finish them in like 15 minutes if I wanted to, but clearly I divide my time equally between my whips, and as a result, feel like I never get anywhere. Never mind. Everybody works differently, right? Yeah, that's probably about it for whips. New things wise, because I had that panic attack over how much yarn I had, I haven't bought any new yarn, but I have got a book that I want to show you. I've just dropped a postcard on the floor. I've been sent a book which is so cute. I had to show it to you. It is called Crochet Kids Bags and it is by JB Patterns. I'm probably not saying that right. This is the one. Oh my goodness, how cute are these? I think I've actually seen these designs before online and thought how cute they were. So this designer it says it's her first book. Chabby Patterns. Somebody who knows, tell me. Don't watch this podcast if you want good pronunciation of things. Just generally things. My language Foreign languages are really embarrassingly terrible. I'm very British. Yeah, you come to realise when you read out Instagram names that actually you've just been sort of saying them yourself in your head for a while, and that actually that might not be how they're meant to be said. Shape Patterns is Maria Isabel. That's the designer's name, Maria Isabel. And yeah, this is essentially a book full of different crochet bags that you can make for your kids. Isn't that a sweet idea? Here are some of the examples. There's some Christmassy ones. Look at the penguin. And this little bear, I think he's a bum bag. Well, they've called it a waist bag. So in the UK, we call them bum bags. And I think in the US, you call them fanny packs. Which, if you're an immature British person, is really funny. Because, well, if you're British and watching, you know why. Moving on from my immaturity. This is the little waistband bear bag. How cute is he? I think he'd be really nice wet. I think they've used their kind of like chenille yarn. But yeah, if you had an eyelash yarn that you didn't know what to do with, or any kind of textured or fuzzy mohair, how adorable is he gonna look worked up in that? There's a couple of other ones as well that I would really like to make. I might try and make the little bear bum bag. And then there was another little animal bum bag as well. Oh, was it the monk? Oh, this is the tiger. Where's the tiger? 82. Isn't that sweet? Maybe I can make those for my kids too. Or it's my little boy's birthday in January and my little girl's birthday in March. So let's be realistic. Christmas is only 4 weeks away, but they are so sweet. And then the more detailed ones, which I've seen before, which I think are adorable as well, are these ones. So that's a really nice like tapestry crochet project with a bit of amigurumi. Nice combo of two things worked together. And look, there's a dinosaur example. So yeah, how many projects are there? Is it say 20? There's different skill levels as well, which is quite nice, and different length projects, which is always quite nice. Sometimes when you get books, especially for kids, or I suppose maybe something like this, which I love, all of the projects are about the same length, whereas this is quite nice because you've got quicker ones, longer ones, and then there's some really sweet little fun pencil case ones as well, and basket ones. So yeah. Crochet Kids Bags, it's called. It's nice and easy to remember, by Shape Patterns. So if you want to do, oh look, this one's a pajama keeper. So I'm trying to show you the pictures without like just showing the whole pattern. Doesn't she look happy? A little Santa pajama keeper. There you are. If you're still looking for a make for children in your life for Christmas, there's some really nice ideas in here. Yeah, I've actually revisited a lot of the books in my stash recently. I don't have that many crochet books, but for instance, the fingerless mittens that I'm making for my mother-in-law, I wanted to make her some fingerless gloves. And sometimes, okay, so Ravelry is amazing and the internet is amazing, but you can spend so long trawling for a pattern, which actually, if it's a simple pattern like that, I already have in a book in my stash. So yeah, I'm in publishing, I'm in magazines now, I have worked in books. I am a champion of printed material. I love the internet and it's amazing, but sometimes it gives me a bit of a headache trying to search and find things. And I think books like this are a really nice example of just really nice designs, really clearly laid out. This one's actually pretty impressive in its charts. I'll show you this chart. I doubt that any of you are going to be able to suddenly whip it up by me just showing you this chart. Look at this. It's a fold out section. It's pretty impressive, right? So yeah, books, books, books. We love books. This is a really cute one. Is that a good review? Oh, I'm sorry. I feel like I've reached the end of the podcast and I've talked so much at you. So there we go. That is Crochet Kids Bags. That is all my whips And that is my charity cowl. If you do have any spare yarn in your stash, in purples or pastels, if you want to stash bust and make a square or a couple of squares, or if you want to make a square and share it for my Little Hearts for Grace charity cowl, and then I can't tell you how much that I would appreciate it. I should have said that we're going to run the cowl all throughout December and then to the end of January. So that hopefully gets around Christmas. I know that people are really busy this month. If you want to make a square in January, or yeah, whenever in Twixmas, between Christmas and New Year, when you're at home and chilling and you want a nice easy project, then please do remember my charity cowl and the squares that have been so lovingly designed by all the 7 designers. And yeah, look us up. If you could help, that would be brilliant. In February we are going to hopefully sew the squares together if we have enough for a blanket, and then from February we will be raffling it locally in connection with the charities Little Hearts Matter and Bristol Children's Hospital. So thank you so much for watching. What will I have for you next episode? Hopefully an update on the cowl. Hopefully a few of these things will be finished, especially the Christmas presents, the amigurumi ones, right? We have not got long before the big man comes. So there we go. That is everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. As I said, if you do want to leave me a comment or hit like or subscribe, that'd be awesome. And yeah, it really helps me spread the podcast out there and find all you lovely people. Thank you so much to everybody who left comments last time. I'm going to go and reply to you now because all of the cowl stuff is ready to go. So I'm going to go and edit, reply, launch. You can find all the details on the blog and all the description stuff in the boxy description thing below. There we go. I will see you all in 2 weeks' time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.